Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Green Bay Rewind. Super excited to have you guys here and be hanging out with you. I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit quieter of an episode today as far as who's watching. The bye week obviously leaves very little to talk about, but I'm excited to hang out, talk to you guys, see what you're up to, see how your bye week was. I do see some people checking in here, so let's take a look. We got Steve checking in from Florence, Kentucky. Steve, good to see you again. Oh, got to make sure I put my banner on here so we can see all the people who are consistently here watching. We got a streak count going for everyone who's been watching, how many episodes in a row they've been here. So good to see you guys back. Swag Coda, it's a me, Dakota. That reminds me, Dakota, I beat Luigi's Mansion last night. Luigi's Mansion 3 last night. Pretty good game if you haven't played it. I know you and I were just talking about Switch games. Corey and Logan, forgot to click comments. Sorry about that. Corey and Logan checking in from New Ulm, Minnesota. You guys got your package as well. I saw Steve got his. I know Jenny emailed or messaged me that she got hers over the weekend. Good to see you guys again. Corey, Logan, appreciate you checking in. Maybe I should update. I wonder if I should update my waiting room thing here, because I feel like I'm to this point now where I get the same people, and I feel like I know where you guys are watching from. I don't know. Let me know. What do you think? Should I update that and just say like a check-in or something like that? I feel bad having you guys always checking in with the city and state or whatever, even though I know where most of you guys are from. Ron sneaking in from Appleton. Good to see you again, Ron. Appreciate you watching. Derek, coming to your first game, or not your first game, heading to Lambeau again for Thanksgiving, but your 8-year-old's first game, which will be phenomenal. You say first regular season, so have you taken them to a preseason game already or family night? Either way, that's fantastic. Appreciate you being here again tonight. If you need anything while you're in town, as far as like suggestions on anything, if you don't already, check out my website, thegreenbayguy.com. I have my cell phone number on there. You can text me if you'd like. If you have any questions on anything, don't call me. I'll never answer my phone. My phone's always on silent. So anyone calls me, odds of me answering are very, very low. Jenny, good to see you from Germantown. Heather, good to see you checking in from Knoxville. I still have to mail yours out. They didn't have the tube packaging that I need for that poster, or the larger size print. So I'm going to be getting yours out hopefully this week. I appreciate your patience. Chad, you made it in. I hope you guys are having a great. Did you have a great birthday dinner with Tiffany? Happy birthday, Tiffany! If you're checking in, appreciate you being here. Ben, great name as always, coming in from Bakersfield. Uncle Brian, good to see you. Hudson, Wisconsin, great area. My mouse still acting up on me. Joshua coming in from Buffalo, Minnesota. Good to see you, man. Katie from Iowa, of course. Okay, so let's see. Dude, Joe, I am definitely slacking. So let me tell you. Let me tell you. My son last night was generous enough to let us sleep for like 3 hours, maybe. He was up. I'm a terrible sleeper as it is already. If I like wake up fully, I have a hard time falling back to sleep. My brain turns on. But my son was up at 8:30 p.m., 10 p.m., 10:45, 11:30, midnight, 12:30, and at 12:30 stayed up till 3 a.m. and then he finally let us sleep for a little bit. So, dude, slacking is what I'm doing today. I'm just getting by. This mouse, man, it's killing me here. Dakota, are you able to do polls in these lives? That would be a cool to do in the beginning, some Packer related poll of some kind, maybe. To be honest with you, man, I have no idea what I can do in here. This mouse, I don't know what's going on with it tonight. I have no idea what I can do as far as polls. Let me take a look here. It's going to be a pretty laid back night tonight, to be honest with you. We don't have a game to talk about. We're going to talk about the upcoming game, but we don't have a game to like kind of recap. So it's going to be probably pretty chill. Just kind of hang out. Just talk, see how you guys bye week went. What's really interesting to me as we're talking about the bye week, I watched few games here or there. I didn't watch a ton. I took a nap, if we're being honest. My sons have been sleeping pretty rocky lately, so I took a nap on Sunday, which was nice. But yeah, so what's really interesting is see how, and I'm by no means bashing Aaron Rodgers. I have a lot of gratitude for Aaron Rodgers, but it's really interesting to see how New York is flipping their stance on Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure their stance on the team hasn't changed much. I feel like they've hated their team forever. But last year it was like Joe Douglas swindled Gutekunst. Gutekunst is the dumbest man alive for getting rid of Aaron Rodgers. And now I just see fans absolutely hating Aaron Rodgers in New York. I like to troll their subreddit. Not troll. I like to, I don't know. I peruse. I kind of lurk in the shadows of their subreddit. And the amount of people that are like, wait, we have to pay him how much money next year in dead cap, even if he's not here, even if he retires. And they're coming to the realization that a lot of like the same frustrations that a lot of Packer fans had towards the end of his time in Green Bay, as far as maybe overlooking certain guys or yelling at receivers when he feels like they didn't do something right. So it's pretty interesting to see how good Goot comes out looking out of that whole ordeal. And once again, not to knock Aaron Rodgers. I know a lot of people right now, a lot of Packer fans don't like him, but I appreciate everything he's done for the franchise. And there's going to come a day where he's welcome back in Green Bay. His number is going to be retired, and I hope people can welcome him back. I think I don't know. Obviously, he's controversial in a lot of ways, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting how quick New York is turning on him, which has been interesting to watch. Yeah, digging the NFL Blitz shirt. Yeah, thank you. The Jordan Love NFL Blitz. I was hoping they were gonna have like an older player for the shirt. It's a homage shirt, which I ordered a few things from homage, but the like Minnesota ones, because my brother's a Vikings fan, of course. I was looking at some of the shirts they had and just sending them to my brother. But they had like a cool Randy Moss one. I was really hoping they're gonna have like a Robert Brooks or a Leroy Butler Blitz shirt that I would have got. I love the Jordan Love one, but to me, if I think of NFL Blitz, I think of the late 90s, and I want a late 90s football player that was in Blitz for the shirt. But I did not complain at all about ordering the Jordan Love one because I'm a big fan of it. Oh yeah, Chad, you and I were talking about this as far as kids and sleep. I definitely don't miss those days. I don't think I'll miss them when I'm beyond it. Like you talked about having your kids having you wake up to your kids staring at you is another fun thing to deal with. So Jenny, yes, he'll settle down one of these nights. Fingers crossed. I hope he sleeps well tonight. My gosh, my brain all day feels like it's just not firing properly, which I guess isn't super abnormal. What we can do, I guess. I don't have a game to talk about, of course. I mean, we have some games we can talk about. We can kind of wrap it all up into the NFC Championship. Or the NFC. See, my brain's done. The Bears game and talk about the NFC stuff there. What I forgot to do is post the giveaway link. See, my there's just a huge disconnect right now. There's a huge disconnect. There is the link for the giveaway. Make sure you enter that. Only enter it once per person, please. I'll post it again later. If you already enter it, don't enter it a second time. I'll make sure I give you that warning as well. But you have to be here to win. So even if you're not watching fully or continuously, make sure you're checking back, or have someone alert you if you win. You don't have to be here watching this entire show or anything like that. Just make sure you're checking in. Make sure you claim your prize before the end of the episode. Otherwise, you'll forfeit it. Let's see here. Josh says, how do you feel about Love going more under center than shotgun? Honestly, I trust whatever their process is or whatever their thought process is. If he's more mobile, I'm definitely a big fan of him being more under center. Probably opens up the ability to do a bit more play action. And yeah, I don't know. I think it'd make it a little bit more of a versatile offense for him. Let's just get into some questions right away since we don't have a thing to talk about. Let's get into some burning hot questions. As always, huge thank you to Legend Larry's for sponsoring the show this entire season. All season long, if you go to Legend Larry's during a Packers game or a Badgers game, you can get wings for $10 a dozen when you dine in, which is a killer deal. I think some of you guys just need to move to Green Bay so we can all go on like a Badgers game and go get wings together. My wife likes Legend Larry's wings, but not as much as I do. So it'd be nice. It'd be nice to be able to go get a lot more wings. That's for sure. So any questions you guys have, feel free to drop them. Let's just hang out, talk for a little bit. We'll break down the game coming up and talk about some of the NFC stuff going on, like the NFC North stuff, but we can just kind of hang out for a little bit to chat. It's going to be a pretty lax episode. Usually I have a lot prepared to talk about, but obviously there's not as much going on. So, let's see here. Jenny says that her bye week was watching some of the NFC North games. Jacksonville, yeah. I mean, that's going to be something I talk about it a little bit later on, a bit further, but both of those games, I was like, oh man, is this bye week going to go perfectly for the Packers? And both of them, just like last second, just tore my heart out. So that's the way it goes. Lambo Leo, good to see you, man. Appreciate you swinging in. Lambo Leo, great page. If you don't follow him already, he does a lot of memes. He likes to poke fun at the Bears and some of the other franchises like the Cowboys and stuff, and always cracks me up when I catch up on my social media feed at the end of the night. It's always good to see his stuff pop up. So Katie asking a question about the Switch. Ooh, what do I play most on the Switch? My time that I can play on the Switch is very limited right now. I generally play while I'm laying in bed for like a half hour before I go to bed. So I don't play a ton right now. I've been playing Luigi's Mansion a lot. But it varies. I play a lot of Pokemon games because I'm still like a 12-year-old. I'll play a lot of different Pokemon games or just different Mario games. I like puzzle games, those types of things. I got to think a little bit, but not too hard because I'm just kind of winding down on the night. But I'm trying to think of, is there yeah, a lot of probably Pokemon games and stuff that I just don't need to like super think about, but there are some puzzles. I like some puzzles. Derek already coming in with some good questions. You always bring some good questions here. Who needs to be the MVP in the second half of the season, make a run? I mean, I think everything goes to Jordan Love. I think I do think that if you look at last year, they ran a lot through Aaron Jones, and I think that allowed Jordan to be a lot more dangerous of a quarterback. They obviously cleaned up a lot of their penalties that they had last year, early in the year. We talked about this last week, but last year was almost like identical start to the season that we've seen so far. It felt like it was constant mistakes. Because I'll see memories that pop up from my page, and I'm like, hey, same thing week in and week out. Penalties, poor execution, missed opportunities, and excuse me, missed opportunities. And then it like cleans up, right? Cleans up in the second half of the season. We see that run go. I'm hopeful that it can happen this year as well. But if you look at last year, everything kind of ran through Aaron Jones, and it allowed the offense to open up a bit more. When we saw him come back, we saw that offense really explode. So maybe Josh Jacobs is the answer as well. If Josh Jacobs has been so great for us though, or maybe a Marshawn Lloyd, maybe a running back that can get into some field and get some checkdowns or some passes as well and make plays. But I think if we can focus on establishing the run and keeping the defense honest, I think it's going to open up a lot of things. Going back to Joshua's point, if we can get Love more under center and allow him to open up those play actions, I think that can help as well. Playing out of shotgun's a little bit more difficult, but yeah, I mean, that's a great question. But offensively, I think it has to be Jordan. I think he's got to limit, how many turnovers he's giving away. I don't necessarily fault him for some of them. He's had some bad bounces go his way. He's also gotten fortunate and not had some passes intercepted that should have been intercepted. But I think all in all, he's just got to like learn to live to see another day in a lot of situations. When we look at that against the Lions, and there's that one towards the end of the game where he was like extending the play, and then he goes to kind of throw it away, but the Lions player hits him. And so rather than throwing it safely out of bounds, he throws it to the sideline and it almost got intercepted. Stuff like that. You just gotta like just understand, like, hey, it's second down. Let's just get rid of the ball. There's nothing there. We don't always need to try to play heroes ball. But it's great question. Ooh, Bailey, this is a hot take here. I only like the fries at Legend Larry's, but I'm very picky. Ooh. I don't know, Bailey. That's up there with Katie's love of Starbucks and Pepsi to me. That is a hot take. Did Corey like the Legend Larry's wings though? But their fries are really good. I do like their steak fries. Tony says, is it going to hurt the Bears offense more or less by getting rid of the offensive coordinator? I do have this in my notes, the fact that they got rid of their offensive coordinator, and it feels like, I don't pay attention as much to what's going on around the league as I do the Packers. But it seems like every time a coach gets fired, it feels like we're playing them next. The team that fired the coach, that's the one we're playing next. I don't know. I would assume it's going to help them, but who knows? There seems to be a lot of issues with the Bears. We're going to talk about it. Honestly, statistically, they're not as bad as they looked against the Patriots. I'm hoping that we can see that same team, but I'm expecting it be a lot tougher of a game. Yeah, Ron, just saw your comment right after Tony's. I guess I'm not super surprised as far as the coaching change. Their offense has been struggling. There's a lot of issues on the Bears, and it's mostly offense. Their defense is pretty stout. So, yeah, isn't that Tom? Great comment here. Isn't that crazy that Detroit won the game with Goff throwing 5 interceptions and the Vikings not scoring a touchdown? They won their game as well. So bye week tease. That was definitely a tough one for sure. Dude, Corey, you should. It's a great place. I've been trying to tell my wife for years that I've wanted to move to Green Bay, even after even looked at that house that was on the market right by Lambeau Field. Not seriously. Yeah, honestly, if you're planning on moving to Green Bay, and this goes for anyone watching, if you're planning on moving to Green Bay, personally, I probably won't live right by Lambeau Field. I think obviously it's a beautiful view and it's like nice over there, relatively nice. But I think the appeal would probably wear off pretty quick if you're trying to go places or get back to your house. There's a lot of stories I know from people will just pull into their driveway and park there without permission. And Green Bay's too busy. Like you can't get a tow truck in there. There's a lot of logistical headaches during game days. So it can create a lot of frustration. The nice part about living in Green Bay, even if it's not right by Lambeau Field, is how quickly you can get anywhere. Even if you live in Appleton like Ron, it's pretty easy to get to a game, only a half-hour drive. I when I first started looking at houses or the idea of buying a house, I was like, oh, I would really love to buy one right by where I park every game day. But now that I bought the house where I have my house, I'm very happy I don't live down there because of how much of a headache it'd be. And especially now that I have like a little kid, my 1-year-old son, every time there's a late game, you're going to hear people yelling and hollering as they go by. You just like wake him up, and that just sounds like a nightmare as well. So while that's interesting, probably look at a house that's priced at $1 million across the street from Lambeau Field, I think it'd be an absolute nightmare to live there. Let's see. How healthy do you think the team is after the bye? I don't know. I saw Evan Williams, Jair. Trying to think who is the third one. All are kind of questionable to play. They're not even sure they're going to go this weekend. Hopefully, we can get them to go. So not as healthy as I'd like. I hope. Most importantly, I hope Jordan's had a chance to kind of rest his MCL and his groin, so that way he can kind of come into the second half of the year feeling as healthy as he can. Obviously, no one's healthy at this point in the season. Everyone's going to be dealing with something, but as healthy as possible. What was I was gonna mention something, but I already forgot. I'm telling you, man, my brain is cooked right now with my son killing me on sleep. Lambo Leo says, "Who do you think steps up in the pass rush?" Dude, uh, Leo. I think I know your real name. I think I know your real first name. I think it's a very great first name, but I'm so to the point of calling you Leo now. I hope that's okay. Um, I I know you probably watch Matt's stuff on Tuesdays, so you might not always be here when I say this, but I think Edgerrin Cooper should go in on defense and never leave. That's been kind of my quote for a long time now, and it's not just because I'm a big fan of linebackers. Going back to my Desmond Bishop days, probably even earlier than that, but especially with Desmond. I am so sold on Edgerrin Cooper. I haven't bought a jersey in a very long time. Last jersey I bought was a Desmond Bishop jersey, but I've been contemplating if I should buy an Edgerrin Cooper jersey. I don't wear jerseys a ton anymore, except maybe to games. I did wear my Edgar Bennett one last week, but I feel like that's different because that was like one of my favorite players as a child. But yeah, I'm all in on Edgerrin as well. As far as like a consistent pass rusher, I'm hoping one of these guys that's getting an opportunity rotationally can come in and really start splashing. I would like to see Van Ness kind of step up into that role with more of a consistent snap count. I don't know if we're gonna see that. I hope we do. I hope he kind of takes that leap, but so far it's been not the leap that we've wanted him to take. So I don't know. Hopefully we see that kind of happen. Oh, what is a nerd alert about Sway Coda? I am a nerd, that's for sure. Will there be anyone who can slow the lines down? I think so. This I'm happy you brought up the Lions because I kind of want to clip something here just for future use. So obviously the Lions are the best team in the NFC right now. And the Lions and their fan base are in that fun period that the Packer fans were in for a very long time of the expectation is the Super Bowl and there's nothing else. The fun part about that is that you expect to win every single game, which is great. It's like a really good feeling. I can only imagine how good of a feeling it'd be after how many years of just bad football they've had to endure. And the tough part with that is now you're at this point where if you do not win a Super Bowl, it's such a like gut punch that it's just like that is the toughest thing to get over. That NFC Championship game loss that they endured last year, those are ones that will stick with you forever as a fan. Obviously, you can't mention the 2014 season without talking about that championship loss. 2007 season's the same thing. There's been a lot of NFC championships, 2020, of course. Those are the losses that just really hit you and they stay with you forever. And it's even almost worse when you should be that team and you don't get to the NFC championship game or you don't get to the Super Bowl. Look at 2011 Packers and they went 15-1 and everyone's like, oh, no one's going to slow down that offense until it did. Or the 2021 Packers that just came out so flat against that 49ers team. Any given Sunday is a thing, it's we saw the Texans really if they didn't have such a piss poor second half, they should have taken care of that game. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the season progresses. If any injuries happen, obviously that can impact things as well. But I am interested to see what how things transpire going forward. Ben says, "Did you see some of the vet Bears players are calling for Caleb Williams to be benched?" Yeah, I had that to talk about as well. A little bit later on, which is fine. We're kind of just hanging out right now. It's just kind of a hangout session, but I do wonder is it so you don't wreck his confidence as a quarterback completely? We see that so often with these young quarterbacks, and I think that's where Green Bay gets it right in a lot of ways. I think Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. I think when you get thrown into the fire so quickly, it especially behind a poor offensive line, it can really throw you off the rest of your career. You start getting the yips. You start you feel like this pressure is always coming and is always going to hit you. And I think that can really ruin a quarterback. We've seen that really impact quarterbacks who are really good in college that came into the NFL and just struggled because they couldn't deal with it. They couldn't come up to speed fast enough. And then on top of that, when you start getting um, hit a lot and when you start getting that fan base to turn on you, it's so quick to just like unravel. Uh, you saw that with like Justin Fields. You know, he had a great college career. He came in and got thrown in. The Bears also fired his coach, I believe, after his first season and installed a new offense in his second season. The Bears look like they're on the same path this year with potentially firing their coach and then installing something new next year. So who really knows? I don't know. I don't know if the vets are wanting him out so he can kind of like pump the brakes and relax and breathe a bit. You know, we saw Bryce Young kind of deal with the same thing last year where he got thrown in and just rocked the entire year. And it really takes a toll on a player and their confidence. So it should be it should be interesting. Um let's see here. Let's see. Not sure if this is a question or something else. This might be related to the MVP. Love for offense or Jair for defense. Is Jair overrated? I don't know if he's overrated. I think it's tough when you're seeing injuries and you don't see him on the field. So then a lot of people think he's not participating, which I get. You know, he's not on the field, but you see that defense, the defensive backs performance drop so much when he's not there. So I don't know. Is he overrated because he's having issues with staying on the field this year? Hard to say. Obviously, you want him on the field, but the Packers defense looks a lot better when he's on the field. So I don't know if he's overrated or what, but let's see. See, Corey's got good taste. Just Bailey, appreciate you. Just giving you a hard time. You have good taste too, just not when it comes to your wing preference, I guess. Let's see. See, and here's Katie with another bad take, Bailey. So you're not alone. Pepsi Reign Supreme. Yeah, right. Get out of here with that. Let's see. Sway Kodo, what do you think? What do you think will be our wins and losses for the second half of the season? I never do predictions. I wish I could do poll. I need to maybe try to figure that out because of the fact that I would love to be able to. I was talking to Casey, a friend of mine, coworker. Him and I were talking. He's like, you should just go through the games tonight and kind of do a poll and see who's going to win each game. But I can't do a poll, so that makes it a little bit difficult. I don't do predictions because I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. Yeah, Jimbo. Yeah, you're 100% right. That's different from Super Bowl champ team 2010 teams were firing coaches after we played them. Yeah, they lost Wade Phillips. They lost. Why am I struggling to think of his name? I can see his face. I want to say Leslie Frazier, but it's not Frazier. It was Brad Childress. They fired Childress. Was there another one? Was there a third coach that got fired after they played the Packers? But yeah, the Packers were definitely getting some coaches canned that year. That's for sure. Ooh, Jenny says, when do I begin the Bears trash talk with my 4 nephews, all from Chicago? Jenny, it depends on how old they are. So if like one's like 7 or so, you should have started it 7 years ago. No, I mean, I would be trash talking them possibly any moment you can. Kirby, good to see you back again, man. That 2014 loss was pure depression. Yeah, you're not kidding. I do still really feel bad for Brandon for Bostic because of the fact that so many people are still on him about that to this day. It's so interesting that so many people focus on that as the only reason they lost. I had the opportunity to meet Holmgren shortly after that game, and him and I talked about it, and he's like, "Yep, I told my wife the Packers were going to the Super Bowl unless a handful of bad things happen, and then a handful of bad things happen." You know, what's interesting is fans never talk about the fact that Jordy dropped a touchdown in that game. They don't bring up the fact that somehow Russell Wilson connected on that 2-point conversion. They talk about Julius Peppers telling Burnett to slide a little bit, but it always goes back to Bostic. It's never like there are so many missed opportunities in that game that it's unbelievable. But Bostic always catches the heat, probably because it's the last thing that happened. But man, there's that game was a dumpster fire from kind of towards the end of the game. Obviously, don't want to talk about it too much, but uh, Jenny says you don't really drink coffee, as shown pour in the start of the show. Sometimes I do. I haven't as of late. I've been drinking my liquid deaths instead, just because I don't want to have a full pot of coffee before I go to bed. Not because I'll stay up, just because I don't want to have to get up and use the bathroom 15 times in the middle of the night. So Jimbo says, who is the oh wait, I missed Joshua. Do I have a game day meal? That is a good question. I generally don't. I generally don't eat very much during a game. So like when we have a later game and like a 3 p.m. game and it kind of overlaps with dinner, I don't eat a lot during the game just because I watching the game, I'm kind of focused on that and I forget to eat or I'm not super hungry. I don't know. Does anyone have any good game day meals? All right, Jimbo. Now we're getting back to it. Who's the scariest team in the NFC North or the NFC now? I say 49ers. CMC's back and you're getting healthier. Yeah, they certainly could be. I think anytime you're the reigning NFC like champion, you're kind of the team to beat. But I do think Detroit right now is probably the team to beat. 49ers, though, they could certainly get hot, especially with CMC back if he can stay healthy. Yep, David Carr syndrome. Absolutely. There's another name as well. Tony, I don't think I saw the full quote about McCarthy. I think it was something about like he can go elsewhere, but these other veterans can't necessarily. I do think that the Cowboys are probably going to move on from McCarthy after this year. It wouldn't surprise me unless something crazy happened. And what I would love, this is my ideal scenario here. I think you guys will appreciate this. This is my ideal scenario. I want Cowboys to move on from Mike McCarthy, or if they decide to. I don't necessarily want him fired. I like Mike McCarthy. But if the Cowboys move on from Mike McCarthy, I want the New York Jets to hire him, and I want them to reconnect him with Rodgers, because I think that would just be hilarious to me. After reading, maybe how things ended with McCarthy and Rodgers in Green Bay, I think it would just be chef's kiss to have them reunited back in New York. It could, I don't know. I just think that'd be so funny. Let's see here. Steve, I don't know. You got a bunch of different questions, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what are a bunch of different comments, but I'm not sure. Yep, Bears, dude. Bears are like 30 years in a row of off-season champions. We got a Keith. I would assume you're related to Corey and Logan. If so, appreciate you being here. Concerned about special teams play at all? I mean, I feel like I've been concerned about the special teams for the last decade, so I'm always concerned about special teams. I think until I'm blue in the face, I'll be concerned about special teams. Who Bailey? I can imagine this. So Bailey, I don't know. I think I'm pretty sure from Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, or is it Illinois? Once again, my brain is mush today, so my apologies. So I myself hate Viking fans more than any other fan base, and I hate the Vikings more than any other franchise. And I think that's because I grew up more with them. Where I'm sure on your end, Bailey, because you grew up with more Bears fans, I'm sure your hatred's more towards them rather than some of the other teams in our division. So I'm sure you have to. I do not miss dealing with those other fan bases. I do think that's kind of the funny thing about living in Green Bay is it seems like when the Packers lose on Sundays or whatever day, when they lose, you go to work the next day and you're like, "Oh, hey, how was your weekend?" "Oh, good. Friday we went to a fish fry. Saturday we hung out with the family, and yeah, that was the weekend." It's almost like the Packer game doesn't happen, or if they do talk about the Packers, they'll be like, "Oh, what a game, huh? Yep. Should have done X, Y, or Z." And it's never like you don't get like trash talked because everyone's kind of on the same page. We're all big Packer fans. So it is so odd to live in such a like a city that is just lives, eats, sleeps, breathes Packers football, that it's not too often you get trash talked when your team loses in person. Now I work remotely now at this point, so I don't see anyone in person anyway, but it is kind of funny. Yeah, Indiana. Okay, so I was right initially. I think I said Indiana initially. Um Derek, another banger question. What are your thoughts on the Packers and the city having a problems about Lambeau? I think it's such a null point. The lease still has like another 8 years on it. Mark Murphy's not going to be here. I doubt Gingrich is going to be the mayor in 8 years. Political turnovers a real thing. It's such a non-issue that I don't even give it any time of day in my normal day-to-day thought. It's going to get worked out. It's going to get figured out. Both sides are just wanting what's best for them. I do see a lot of people upset about like the Heritage Trail thing being moved. And while I understand like the frustration that the Packers don't want it moved, but the city does because they want to build stuff up there. The Heritage Trail thing that they're moving or that they're dismantling, it's not in the best condition. They have like this glass thing kind of wraps around and it's all cracked from being weathered. So it's not like it's like this pristine thing that's new and now they're going to move it. I do think moving it's kind of a bummer because a lot of the historical stuff starts downtown or there's a lot of items downtown. So it's kind of a nice starting spot. But what they're moving has no historical meaning from my understanding. It looks more just like a kind of a centralized thing. So I don't know. It's not going to be. It'll be worked out. No problems at all. Let's get a couple more here. If you haven't already, here's the giveaway link one more time. If you've already entered, don't enter again. But if you haven't, feel free to enter there. It just posted. Ooh, my guy Rob, start bench cut. And Rob, are you in? You look like you're in somewhere tropical, by the way. Are you in like Arizona or somewhere nice, not dealing with like cold weather? Jordy Cobb or James Jones start bench cut. I'm assuming we're talking prime, and I'm assuming with like Aaron Rodgers during the prime of their career. I mean, realistically, I love James Jones, but I think you have to cut James, right? And man, 2014 Cobb was so good, but I think I'm gonna just go Jordy. The Rodgers to Jordy connection. So I'm starting Jordy, benching Cobb, and cutting James Jones. But that is a tough question. Um, let's see here. Let's do a couple more. Joe says, "I know you are not or you aren't a drinker, so I don't expect an alcohol answer. But what was your go-to non-alcoholic drink game day?" Joe, I drink an unhealthy amount of coffee all day, every day. I drink probably at least 8 to 12 cups of coffee a day, and then I have an espresso machine as well. So I'll make some espresso, like different lattes or cappuccinos, or even just doing shots of espresso. So I drink an unhealthy amount of coffee and then water. It's pretty much all I drink. I'm a pretty boring person. Steve, let's do this. Will be the last question. Then we'll get to the drawing here. Why do you start at 8:30? You should start at 8:15. Yeah, I should be starting on Lombardi time, but to be honest with you, I don't with my schedule, my son, like 7:30s already feels kind of tight with making dinner and then cleaning up the kitchen because I do all the cooking at my house. I'm a big fan of cooking, so I do the dinner. or I make dinner and then I clean up the kitchen, and we'll give my son like a bath. And then by the time that's all done, it's like already 7:05, 7:10. And then I got to come down here and set everything up. So I should start a Lombardi time, but frankly, my schedule does not permit at all. So all right. Let's draw this giveaway, and then we'll get into kind of talk about Packers Bears. Appreciate all the questions here. That was fun. I know, like I said, obviously it's not going to be like that every week. Usually I come with a lot more to talk about, but it's fun to kind of talk to people and answer some questions you guys might have. I do wish that I could reciprocate questions. That'd be a nice thing, but of course it doesn't. The live show doesn't make it the easiest to do questions back and forth. So before we get into it, huge thank you to Nicolay Law for sponsoring the show this year, sponsoring my page this year. All season long, we're of course going to be doing giveaways, all thanks to Nicolay Law. Without them, I would not be able to do it. That's for sure. So I greatly appreciative of them. Also, anytime the Packers lose all season long, we're doing a double giveaway the next day, and we have a scenario giveaway that we just started doing not long ago. So I gotta actually remember to do the scenario this time. I always forget. So I'm gonna grab all this. Like I said, I'm not gonna share my screen quite yet because we don't want to dox anyone. I don't want to show anyone's email addresses or anything like that. Not that we get a lot of people watching. Yeah, but still, I would hate to give out people's information or anything like that. I only use the email just so I can contact the winner, and that's it. So just checking over, making sure we don't have any duplicates here. I don't think we do. But good luck to my brain if so. And I feel like I'm struggling today, so appreciate you guys dealing with me here. Lack of sleep is no joke, that's for sure. Prayers up that he sleeps better tonight, because I could use it, that's for sure. All right, let's get to the window here. So we have 23 people who entered. Appreciate every one of you for being here. A lot of you are here week in and week out, and I can't say enough how much I appreciate it. It's fun to see new people coming in, but it's fun to see the same people kind of coming back week in and week out. So good luck to you guys. Yeah. If you're here, just make sure that you let me know so that way we can get your number. Is it going to get to Bailey? I think it. Oh, Bailey, you barely snuck that one. You sniped it. Holy cow. That was a close one. Is it going to let me see it without her? Let's close it. Look at that. That is about as close. That is about as close as you can get without. Wow. So Bailey, if you're here, 1 through 40, up or down, if you could, please. Keith, you will get it next time. Sorry you were so close and just barely missed it. That's unfortunate. Let's draw a scenario while we're waiting for Bailey to check in on that 1 through 40, up or down. Here's the scenario for this weekend. There is a Preston scenario. If Preston's gets drawn, we're going to draw again, of course. I do have to. 6 or fewer offensive penalties. Oh, boy. Who? That's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one, but that's the scenario. If we hit that, then next week we'll do an additional giveaway along with that. So Bailey says 22 and up. Steve, appreciate that. He says I'm a great husband and father. Honestly, my wife is incredible. My wife does so much. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do this show. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of stuff. So I'm just trying to get on my wife's level, for being honest, because my wife is the most phenomenal person. I'm so thankful to have her in my life. That's for sure. I have 23. Number 22 was up. So let's see what we got. And Jenny says, not surprised you like cooking all of your great food posts around Green Bay. Yeah, I like cooking and I like eating, of course, as you can tell. But I have the palate of a 7-year-old, so it's kind of a conflicting thing. But my wife does too. My wife's a very picky eater as well, so we make it work that way. Let's see, Bailey, you won a Paul Kaufman signed 8x10. Congratulations. I'll shoot you an email so I can get that address so I can get that mailed out, as well as Heather's picture as well. I'll try to do that this week. So I appreciate you, Bailey. I know you and Corey watch quite often, so stoked that you got one. But yeah, appreciate y'all entering and hanging out. And of course, thanks to Nicolay Law. Appreciate them. Yes, Jenny nailed it. And of course, Nicolay Law. Yes, Nicolay Law is great. Phenomenal to work with. They're a really fun sponsor, really laid back. You would think working with a law firm would be a little bit more like, oh, you got to be careful, but they're so laid back. They just want to have a good time and they just want to help people, which is what you want out of a lawyer. So keep it casual out of the courtroom, but keep it professional in the courtroom, which is great. So the Bears coming in off their loss to the Patriots, really tough loss for them, 19-3. Patriots have looked really rocky, so to get beat that bad obviously opens up some eyes. And it was in Chicago, I believe, which makes it even worse. We talked about it, but the Bears announced that they're moving on from their offensive coordinator, which it makes it a little bit harder to know what you're going to be seeing on Sunday. Makes it probably a little bit more difficult, but I'm hoping the Packers can still take care of business. But it seems like their fans are kind of in full spiral panic mode right now. This offseason, we saw a lot of people writing like Caleb Williams fan fiction almost, where they're talking about how many Super Bowls he's going to win, and now we're seeing talks about people wanting him benched. So life comes at you fast. That's for sure. Life comes at you fast. But I do want to be clear. There is no such thing as an easy win in the NFL. Even games that you should win, there's no such thing as an easy win. There's no guaranteed wins. I've seen people like, oh, the Packers are going to beat them by 20 or 30. This game's going to be closer, odds are, than what you think. So do not sleep on the Bears by any means. Do not think that the Bears are going to be a cakewalk. It's a divisional game. They're gonna come out. They're gonna be motivated to beat the Packers. They haven't beat the Packers since 2018. So do not for a second think that they're gonna just be a team that gives up on everything. They're gonna pose some. They're gonna pose a challenge for sure. At least that's my opinion. I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we're coming back and looking at this and making fun of me about thinking that I'm a moron for thinking it's gonna be close. Hopefully I'm wrong. But statistically, the Bears are not that bad of a football team. Offensively, they're bad, but defensively, they're not bad. Offensively, they are bottom or close to bottom in everything. Total yards a game, they're 30th in the NFL. Passing yards, they're 30th. Rushing yards are 24th. Points per game, they're 24th. Pretty bad across the board there. Compared to the Packers, Packers are top 10 everything. Total yards, Packers are third. Passing, 7th. Rushing, 3rd. Points per game, 9th. Offensively, the Packers obviously take it, right? Their offense looks leaps and bounds more put together than the Bears. But with a new offensive coordinator, all that gets thrown out the window. Where things get a little bit more interesting, I think, is their defense. Defensively, the Bears are doing okay, especially in the passing game. They're 13th in total yards allowed on average. Passing, they're only 7th. Now, I haven't watched a lot of Bears games, but from my understanding, from my watching them, they've been in pretty close games for the most part, even winning a lot of games. So it's not teams that are up a lot on them and just stop passing. So I do think that their passing defense, has a lot going for it to be ranked 7th in the NFL. And the points allowed for this defense is 7th in the NFL as well. Now, their rushing yards they give up on average is 24th in the NFL. Where the Packers rank top 15 and everything, their total yards allowed 12th, passing yards allowed 15th, rushing yards allowed 10th, and points allowed at 11th. So the Bears are better than the Packers defensively in a couple spaces. They're better than them passing yards. They're better than them at points allowed. So there is, to me, there is like that cause for concern that if their offense can put some things together and their defense stays tight, especially in a pass game, that's going to be, that can be a recipe for disaster in a lot of ways. Now, I do think that our defense is going to be able to kind of take care of pressuring that Bears offense, or pressuring Caleb Williams. Okay, I see lost connection. Did I drop, or is Tony just having issues? I would assume I'm still okay. Maybe. Steve, you said no guarantee wins. See Carolina play. Carolina's still winning. I mean, any given Sunday. Yeah, it must be Tony's issue. Okay, appreciate you guys confirming that. What I was saying though is the Bears' offensive line is horrible. I think they allowed 9 sacks against the Cardinals, and if the Packers continue to struggle to get a lack of pass rush or any pass rush on the Bears, that's going to be pretty concerning. My hope is that you can see that pass rush kind of come to life against the Bears. Might not always get home. You might not register the sacks, but at least pressure Caleb. Now, if that offensive coordinator mixes things up, maybe that changes things. But my hope is that as a team, you can kind of stop their run game and make Caleb beat you. He's looked he's looked kind of rocky on deep throws, and even some of the shorter throws he's looked off. He's not setting his feet and kind of doing the fundamental fundamentals when it comes to throwing, and I think that goes based off of how much pressure he's getting and how many times he's being hit. So yeah, I mean, I was surprised though to see how good their defense actually ranked. And then from a turnover perspective, the Bears are actually sitting better than the Packers as far as differential. They're +8 on the year. They've generated 16 takeaways, and they've given the ball away 8 times. Packers have generated 19 while giving away the ball 13 times. So the Bears are +8, the Packers are +6. So if I'm the Packers, I'm heavily running it. I'm getting Josh Jacobs involved. If Marshawn Lloyd's back, I'm getting him involved. Manuel Wilson getting him involved. Jaden Reed getting him involved. I'm running the ball a lot against that Bears team to really take that pressure off of the of the offense as far as the penalties. Hopefully, you're taking holding penalties away a little bit. Now we've seen holding penalties and pre-snap penalties, regardless if it's a pass or a run. So maybe that doesn't change anything. But I would focus so heavily on the run, make them load up that box, and then try to hit them with some play action. But I do think it's going to be a bit more of a challenging game than a lot of people think it's going to be. And hopefully come Tuesday, we're sitting here saying how stupid I look. But yeah, what are you guys thinking? How are you feeling about it? I know I'm always going to be a little bit more like kind of even keeled on things. I think every team is a strong team in the NFL in their own way. And I also think that like over the years, we've just seen so many instances where everyone's like, oh, the Packers should win this, or this team should win this. And it just doesn't go that way. And that's the NFL. So I never want to call anything easy, but how are you guys all feeling about Sunday's game? It is at noon and it is in Chicago at Soldier Field. So it should be an interesting one. Okay, let's see. Let's see everyone's saying connection's good. Cool. Let's talk about the story of the week. Get out of here so I can go upstairs and go to bed because I am spent. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Let's see here. So as it is Packers and Bears this week, I did think it was interesting to there was a story that I wanted to share. Since it's Packers Bears week this week, I found the story that would coincide with that. So we all love the Packers Bears rivalry. This rivalry is the best in all of sports, in my very biased opinion. But it is a rivalry that probably would not exist if not for George Halas, who was the founder of the Chicago Bears. And what I mean by that is in 1956, the Bears, or excuse me, my brain, once again, I'm hitting my wall here. In 1956, Green Bay was trying to pass a referendum to build what is now known as Lambeau Field. The citizens of Green Bay were kind of on the fence. It's money that's being spent to build a new stadium. They also didn't. There's a lot of arguments about if the stadium should be built on the east side or the west side, because people in Green Bay think driving over a bridge is a big deal, and there's a big difference between east side and west side Green Bay. City Stadium is on the east side, so there's a big deal about where this new stadium was going to be built. Anyway, it certainly wasn't sold on this new stadium potentially being built. Well, George Halas, the weekend before the vote, he came to Green Bay and he attended a public rally where he gave a very passionate speech about the Packers and how much the Packers means to the city and how much the fans mean to the Packers and how it's such a mutually beneficial relationship. And his speech, it's noted that his speech was such a hit that it actually helped and encouraged the citizens of Green Bay to pass the referendum to build Lambeau Field. Without this being passed or without Lambeau Field being built, odds are the Packers would either have to relocate or would eventually fold as an organization like we saw with so many teams back in the day. So it is interesting to think that had George Halas not spoke on this, had it not gotten approved because he spoke on it, this Packers Bears rivalry might not be here. Now, some Bear fans may wish that George Halas would have kept his mouth shut and not had to have endured the Packers just walloping the Bears for the last, decade or so. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, we can all appreciate the Packers Bears rivalry. I will say that the Packers also helped save the Bears back in like the 1930s. The Packers loaned George Halas $1,500 so he could make payroll for his team. Without that, the Bears probably won't be around. So it is kind of mutually beneficial in that way. Also worth noting that George Halas will put in a good word for the Packers to hire Vince Lombardi. So without George Halas, who knows where this franchise would be. We might not have Lambeau Field, and we might not have ever had Vince Lombardi be our coach. So a lot of respect with the Packers and Bears. I know me personally, I have a lot of respect for the Bears franchise. I think of them as like kind of like that brother, like that sibling rivalry. You have a lot of respect for them. You want to beat them, but ultimately at the end of the day, you respect them. Now, I would hate to see them win a Super Bowl or anything along those lines. And I think their fans are very frustrating at times, but I do have some respect for the organization itself and the history that they bring to the NFL. So I thought that was interesting. I figured it was kind of fitting to share that during Bears week, but yeah, I appreciate you guys all hanging out, interacting with me, dealing with my fog brain tonight, and fingers crossed that I can get some sleep and my son sleeps a little bit better tonight. But appreciate you, each and every one of you. Bailey, I'll be reaching out to you either tomorrow or Thursday to get your address so I can get this sent out to you. And as always, go Pack Go. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you all once again for all your support. It means the world to me. So go Pack Go, and we'll see you next week.